Welcome to the Remarkable Podcast. I'm your host, Doug Ford, and I am pleased to present to you episode number 1. So this podcast is all about getting tips and tricks from successful realtors, sharing it with each other, and finding out how we can make our businesses better. Today, I am so happy to share with you a really special episode with a special guest, Weinerman. He is my broker and the founder of Platinum Lion Realty in Dundas, Ontario. You are going to love this conversation. You're going to love this man. He loves real estate and he loves the brokerage, and he handles it in such a beautiful way and makes everybody that's a part of it part of his own family. So enjoy the conversation and hopefully you can learn lots. I am so happy to introduce to you Weinerman, my broker, my friend. So Louis, thanks for being here, and please tell us a little bit about how you ended up working in the real estate industry.
That's a very interesting question, one that will probably require a little bit more time than what we have today. However, I've always been in the business of sales. I love working with people. I've been in the financial services business for probably around 38 years. Real estate was a natural transition for me to add in addition to my portfolio of services that we offer. Started off several years ago working with Cindy, my business partner, at a different brokerage. And, in conjunction with my financial services, it just was a natural resource of leads and people who wanted to do business with me. They enjoyed who I was, how I did my business. And what we ended up doing is realizing over a course of time that we weren't very happy in the manner of which way the traditional brokerage was working. The splits that we were getting, the desk fees that they were charging, the services that they were providing. I was frustrated given the fact that we did all of the work and simply put the contribution on the brokerage side of things didn't equate to the amount of money they were making off the size of the deals that we were submitting and doing. So
Sure. Yeah.
Cindy and I had a nice long talk, and we decided to go out on our own, open up our own little shop and create a little boutique, of which it was really originally designed to just be Cindy and myself and another friend of ours that is in the real estate business. And it ended up somewhat snowballing. So we had to rebuild the model of which, we felt was damaged. And we ended up building a model that was a little bit more conducive to how we felt our business model should look. Thus, Platinum Lion was born. And our model is very simple. It is a lower base desk fee, call it whatever you want, desk fee, service fee, membership fee, but it's an inexpensive way for someone to be part of a brokerage, because a brokerage in its truest sense is a throughway to the market unless you have your broker's license. And from a compensation standpoint, we believe that the people who do the work should be compensated for the work in the most efficient manner, which is, to pay a fee that provides us with both our cost and a small profit without infringing incredibly a large amount on their commission, thus not taking a percentage, which varies, and just to charge a flat fee. So that's simply what we did. And our brokerage is always going to be a boutique style brokerage. We started off with just the two of us. We're at 37 now. We're continuing to grow. But our whole model is that we're a family. We work together. We all help each other out. Everybody is here to see everybody else's success. And we're here to inspire and motivate and provide the services that they need to really get out into the field and be successful.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a great uh, descriptor of what you offer. So, myself as a realtor, I think I've been with you just about 2 years now. And everything you just described is exactly what I've experienced. So, I mean, you're doing what you say you're doing, and that's something that's pretty meaningful. So, part of the purpose of this podcast is to help young, new, even more experienced realtors who are struggling with what to do now. You know, how do we get business? How do we generate leads? And I remember you and I have had a conversation. You don't buy leads, at least the last time we spoke. And so could you talk to that a little bit? Like, what do you recommend when you have a new agent join your team? They just got their license, suppose. What would you say to that new agent? What kind of tips would you give them?
Well, let's take a step back for a minute and understand the concept of sales. Like I've always been of the opinion that if someone says you're a good salesman, they saw you coming, right? You you've dropped your pants, you've become a salesperson, and the idea of sales is to provide a service that somebody is in need of. And in my opinion, the best way to do that is to build a relationship built around trust, built around knowledge, and showing that individual that you're there to work with them, for them, rather than ramming something down their throat for the benefit of you lining your pockets with the dollars. Even though at the end of the day, what's worth doing is what's worth doing for money. I mean, we're all in the business of wanting to earn an income. But I believe that if we do it properly and we do it with, that relationship marketing skill, we'll grow our business far better than just being a salesperson. I think that most of the people, when they get into the business, they have the right mentality. They're motivated, they're driven. They will do whatever it takes to get out there and get into circles that aren't in their normal circles of friends or relatives. They'll, introduce themselves, tell them what they do for a living, and they'll knock on doors. They'll, you know, be creative. And at some point, over a course of years, months, whatever that happens to be, and it happens to all of us, we kind of get complacent. We kind of get lazy, and we forget about the basics that we first learned or did when we first got started in this business. So, in answer to your question, I believe that sales is a byproduct of the relationships that you build with your prospects. And those relationships should be built on faith and trust and knowledge. And if you can build those relationships properly, then the topic of sales is really one where you're just providing a service to them that they enjoy doing business with you, and they'll naturally work with you.
Right.
That's it.
Right.
So
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say,
when we have a new agent come onto our team, one that's experienced is one thing, one that's not experienced, that's just freshly getting into sales, we encourage them to go beyond the comfort level that they're used to experience the negatives that are out there, to ask the questions that may give them the answers that they're not looking for. Because in this business, as with most other businesses revolving around sales, no is a very common word. And no is something that a lot of people get discouraged about. I am not one of those people. No to me doesn't mean yes, No to me means that it's an obstacle, and obstacles you go over, around, or through. In today's environment, most agents of any nature are one trick ponies. And what I mean by that, Doug, is that they walk around with a briefcase with one concept, one idea that they're trying to pitch and sell to everybody who they sit down and meet with. And if the word no comes out, they say, okay, I understand. They put their one idea back in their briefcase and they exit and on to the next one, rather than going back into their bag of tricks and pulling out a different concept that may reach that client's, you know, desire to do business. Everybody has a hot button, and it's up to us to read into what that client's hot button is that no one wants to say that that's too expensive. No one wants to say that they can't afford it, or no one wants to say that my wife makes the decisions. It's up to us
Even if it's
to,
true, right?
right, but it's up to us to hear what they're saying without them saying it, and try to put two and two together to equal that four, and not be confused with maybe that two and two equaling three.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I hear you. So it sounds to me like what you're saying is when you think about your, let's say, significant experience in sales, as well as all these interactions, 37 agents. I mean, you've already seen your fair share come into the office and probably some out of the office. Um, that there's this piece of like being focused on relationship, and then also this piece of building the skill set to navigate those relationships. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I believe that the skill set is a necessity regardless. I think that, you can't portray yourself as an expert in any industry unless you have a skill set to go along with it. You need to do your research, regardless of how long you've been in any business. You need to always upkeep your knowledge. You need to know what's going on in this specific business, in the mortgage business. You need to understand what's going on in the new sales and resales business. You need to understand how everything in the environment is affecting our clientele, so that you have an idea. You need to grasp what areas are selling better than others. You know, a lot of the people that we're seeing right now are people that bought during the peak, if you will, of the market, which happened to fall coincidentally during COVID, when everything was a little bit crazy. Interest rates were the lowest that we've ever seen, and I've been on this planet for almost 58 years, and I've never seen interest rates that low. And people were overpaying, spending an arm and a leg, mortgaging themselves up to the nines, and now their mortgage is coming up for renewal, and they're being hit with 4 to 5% increases on what they had to begin with, which is putting them in a position that they can't afford it. So now they're trying to sell their homes, and we're put in a precarious position that we have to explain to these people that, listen, the unfortunate thing is that I do not believe you're going to find the value in your home of what you currently pay, or what you paid a few
Sure.
years ago.
Yep.
No one wants to hear it. And there are a
That's
lot
right.
of agents that will, just to get a listing, tell them what they want to hear. And that's great. But at the end of the day, if they don't sell their property, what happens?
Right.
They'll go to
Yep.
somebody else, and that somebody else will tell them, hopefully, what I'm telling them. And the client is just going to be let down. So we kind of have to be in a position that we have to tell the clients the unfortunate truth, that
Sure.
in this kind of business, we can't always, have a crystal ball. We don't know what the markets are going to do, but I can tell you for sure, that when the markets were that low and people were buying homes and there were multiple bids and people were throwing in blind offers 100 to 200,000 if not more over the previous bid without even knowing what that bid was.
Yeah.
um, we as a brokerage, you know we wanted to make sure that all of our clients knew that, look, at the end of the day, we're going to suggest where you stop and where you proceed, but you're going to be the end user. If you feel that you're going to overpay, we're going to tell you, but you should also understand that there's going to come ramifications. We don't believe these interest rates are going to hold. We believe that when the renewal comes, you're going to get a fat surprise. You need to take that into consideration when you're buying and paying for this home.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think what you're saying is there's a skill set there that a realtor should be prepared to deliver, let's call it a 360 perspective on purchasing a home. So it's not like, oh, you
Yeah.
love, let's just sign the papers and get it done. Let's make sure that we're getting all the information, which includes like we are near a market peak or prices are high and that you have to think about this in the future. And what if the price of a house went down and those kind of things, which we thought was never going to happen.
Look, there's two types of agents in this world. There's a type of agent that feels that they want a list of inventory on their website. So they want to get as many listings as they possibly can. And uh, to make it seem like they have all this activity going on. But if none of them are selling because they're all overpriced, okay, they're not getting paid and their client isn't getting their money out of their property.
Sure.
So my philosophy is I would rather have less inventory, but the right inventory than more inventory of the wrong inventory. And
Love it.
that's what we try to push out to our agents so that they understand that.
That's great. So when you think about real estate, what do you love most about it? Because I know that it holds a special place in your heart and like in the conversations we've had. Why do you think it's so important? What do you like about it?
I think that real estate is probably the single biggest investment that anybody is going to make.
Sure.
And I think for somebody to put their trust and faith in you to help them enter into that investment is very important, and it creates a very strong bond between you and that person. And it's something I've always loved. I mean, not just real estate, like anything where there's a very large amount of faith and trust that people put in you. It
Yep.
gives you an incredible responsibility to look after that individual, not just today, but moving forward as well. And, you know, adding on to that, I believe that most agents today, they sell a home and that client is no longer a client after that. It just becomes somebody who I did business with. You
Hmm.
know, uh, we try to make that not the case here. I mean, I can't dictate to our agents what they have to do. I can only suggest what they should do. In other words,
Sure.
Christmas cards, birthday cards, anniversary of when they bought their home, giving them a congratulatory little gift of when they move in or when they sell, something to keep that relationship going, something that is important to that client. I mean, my first realtor that I ever did business with that helped me buy my first home, I'm still friends with, and I don't want to mention his name, but he said something to me. He brought me into a leads club.
Okay.
It was every Thursday morning, and we met in an ungodly hour for coffee and a bagel. And there was somebody from every single industry, and everybody had to
Right,
bring.
like business networking.
Yeah, exactly. And his motto, his thing is that his name, Steve, is a household name. not household, household name, right?
Yeah.
And that was probably, you know, I would say 35, 40 years ago that he
Mhm.
said that to me, and it rings in my ear every day since then. I mean, it's such a catchy, little motto that you have,
Sure. Yeah.
and that people know him for what he does. He
Yeah.
sells homes and he does a great job of it. And he is a machine and he builds those relationships and he always keeps in touch and he always sends off emails. And they're not, emails of newsletters. They're personalized. Hey, Lewis, just reaching out. How you doing? You know, I know that you're my competition right now, but like just wanted to catch up with you. Like those are things that people forget of what they need to do to keep that relationship going. Because really, at the end of this, when you do business with a client, they may not buy a home for another 5 years, 10 years, but they are your best center of influence. They are your best referral source. And
Yeah.
nobody seems to want to ask somebody to refer them a few names of people that, they're friends with or acquaintances of that would be in a similar position as them. What is the harm in asking? What is the worst thing that they could say? No. I mean, if they're
Right.
happy with the work that you provided, why wouldn't they want to refer you and have them look good?
Exactly.
We refer
Yep.
our friends, lawyers, you know, hairstylists, financial planners, car dealers. Why not realtors?
Right. Right. They say it's a very human. In fact, it's maybe one of the most fundamental human interactions is to recommend things. Like,
Yeah,
oh, I love this, new restaurant that just opened. I went and I
right.
tried the veal parm, and you gotta have it. Like that's human.
Yeah. I mean, listen, people have a tendency to want what other people have if
Mhm.
they like what they have. So, it gives us a sense of satisfaction to refer somebody who's a solid agent to somebody else. And it gives the people that are getting that referral a sense of satisfaction, knowing that they're going to be dealing with somebody who is extremely happy with the service that they got from this individual.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think giving referrals, asking for referrals, providing referrals, getting referrals, it's all about referrals.
Right. Yeah. And I absolutely can hear you saying that this business is tied to knowing people and being known by people for your trustworthiness and your ability to relate to people. And so when I think about a new agent, sounds to me like you're saying, work on getting to know people.
Work on getting to know people, create a ingenious way of having yourself stand out. Doug, you've known me for a while. I think you can appreciate what I'm saying right now. I'm not your normal broker. I'm not your normal salesperson. I stand out in a crowd, whether
You are
it's,
not a stiff start shirt, that's for
yeah,
sure.
no,
How's that?
definitely not. Whether it's a lime green briefcase that people know me for, the way I dress, the tattoos that I may have, whatever it is, I stand out in a crowd. My personality is a little bit more outgoing than most. So I'm not as subdued as some people are. It works for some, doesn't work for others. That's okay. I can't make everybody happy. But at the end of the day, I think that if you are just like everybody else, there's no differentiation between you and everybody else. You need to be unique, stand out in
Totally.
the crowd. Don't be afraid. Look for the things that make you uncomfortable because those are the things that make you succeed. Look at somebody who's unsuccessful and do the opposite.
Fair enough, right?
We
Oh,
have a lot of those people around us. We can look just to our left or just to our right and look at people that are, talking about how they want to be successful, have that desire, but do they have that drive and motivation? And what are they doing? They're talking about things, but they're not doing those things. So, everybody has a different way of phrasing it, but I heard it a long time ago this way, and it stuck true to me ever since. The definition of an idiot is a person who does the same thing over and over again and expects different results. Change it up, modify it. If you want to be successful, you have to truly be unique. You have to change up your model every once in a while. And if it's not working, change it again. Don't be afraid of change. We have to adapt.
And I think you're saying be yourself, right? Like that's
100%.
fine. I mean, so I also don't think I need a neck tattoo, right? It's okay if I don't have one. Yeah.
You're fine.
Great. Hey, this has been just a charming conversation, and I do try and maintain the 30-minute or so window of time so that people can watch this when they're coming and going, and doesn't take a ton of time out of their
hopefully not in a car while they're driving.
Yeah, well, maybe they do the audio only, whatever. It's fine. But can you leave us with a couple of thoughts? I mean, those have been some really powerful things, but yeah, if you want to know Remarkable Nation, here's what Lewis would say to you, and then maybe just how we can get in touch with you and what the best way to connect with you is.
Listen, my if I were to give anybody advice, regardless of the industry that they're getting into, is just be yourself and create a unique personality that will last in somebody's head within your own body. I'm not telling anybody they need to, do a complete 360 of who they are, but deep down inside everybody, there's a unique personality. Bring that out. Have that energy about them. People like dealing with people who have energy. People like dealing with people who are knowledgeable. And for that sense also, don't be afraid of saying, I'm not certain. I don't know. I can find out for you though, because, people don't always like know-it-alls. So it sometimes is a good thing if you don't know 100% of everything and that you have to get back. Don't be afraid of that. It doesn't make you look like a poor agent. It makes you look like you're working for them and you want to get them the absolute best answer that you possibly can. Beyond that,
like a humble helper.
Yeah. Beyond that, be a worker bee. Grind it out every single day.
Love it.
Right? Don't be afraid of the no's. Look for the no's. It's a numbers game. The more no's you get, the more yeses will follow. That's it.
Great. Good. So how do people get in touch with you? Tell us a little bit about what areas you guys serve.
We serve all over. We don't serve burgers though, but we serve and we provide services all over. We've been out to Red Deer, Alberta, Montreal, all of Ontario, really. But if anybody needs to get in touch with us, platinumlion.ca is our website. I can be reached at lewis@platinumlion.ca. And I'm accessible to anybody who has any questions.
That's great, Lewis. I appreciate you, and thanks for taking the time to share with my audience here. Congratulations, you are our first episode, so thanks for also being that, and thanks for being you, because we like you.
Thanks for being you, Duck.
Thanks, Lewis.
Take care, buddy. Have a good one.
Bye.